Hello my fellow chatterers and book lovers, and anyone else who's popped in because you're a bit curious or you've got lost. Welcome anyway. I am Chatty and I'm going to be chatting away madly today about all the things I've been reading in October so far. So we are fully into autumn season here in the UK. I'm wearing my jumper. You can't see it, but it's got a really cute, look, it's got a really cute owl on it. I just wanted to show you in case you see the ears and wonder what on earth that is. And I just love this jumper because it's really cute. Anyway, jumper talk aside, we're here for books. We're here for books. So I have very much been enjoying getting really cozy in the autumnal weather, and I'm very excited to talk about some of the books that I have been reading and I'm currently reading. So I'm roughly looking at the first 2 weeks of October that I'm going to be talking about. Some could be from my TBR, some could be fitting some prompts in GOTHTOBER and BLACKOWEENATHON, and some are just randoms because I went to the library and went a bit crazy. So I'm going to share it all with you after I've had a mouthful of tea. Much better because my voice is already going dry. We haven't even started. So on this channel, I don't edit, I just do everything in one shot, so I could get a bit waffly, but we just embrace the waffle, we embrace the chaos, we see how it goes. Cheers everyone. So the first book that I have read is The Shadows of Self by Brandon Sanderson. And the first two books I read in October were kind of like ones I was supposed to read in September and didn't manage to squidge in. So I'm kind of reading my leftover September ones before I move on to my October ones. This is a reread for me. It is the second book, blah, blah, blah. Let's try that again, shall we? It is the second book in the Mistborn Era 2 series. So it has like a Wild West steampunk vibe with like a crime mystery element to it, as well as fantasy. Just loads of things in here. I have a great time. It's also much more humorous than Era 1. Era 1 I'd say was like very high epic. This is kind of more urban and funny. But it's Brandon Sanderson, so there is still a big plot going on that I think becomes more apparent as you kind of get into like maybe the final third. We've got characters that we met in the Alley of Law coming into their own more. We know them a bit better now. Things have moved on a bit more in certain parts of their life. We get to know a little bit more about some of the background to them. I get to see one of my favourite characters, who's still a side character at this moment, just having a little bit more time to shine, which is fun. And it's just a great time. And you get some little appearances from some of the people that we loved in Era 1, so more of the legends of what we know happened in Era 1 and how Era 2 view it, and lots of questions. So the first time I was reading this, I had questions about how certain things were happening because of what I recall happening at the end of Era 1. I have now read more in this series, so the fourth book is coming out in November and I'm so excited. So now rereading this, I'm like, I think I can connect the dots now, which is so much fun. And that's why I love rereading, because it just makes me appreciate the story more fully. The first time I read this, I felt very impressed with myself for knowing one of the twists in here with my detectoring skills. But there was a twist in here that I didn't see coming. And there is emotions in here that you don't necessarily expect. I'd say there is a lot of character growth and journey in here, and I do love these characters. I love them so much. We have more fun with the magic system as well. There's still the Allomancer magic with the metal ingestion. There is also more of the, I can never say it properly, I want to say Freudian, but I don't think it's that. I'm now looking up what the word is. Feruchemical, whatever that is. But one of those words, where they use what's called metal mines, where they store up like speed by being really, really slow for a while, and then they can be really, really fast, or they store up health by being a bit ill for a while, so then they can like heal themselves quickly. So we see more of those powers with some of our characters, and we also kind of see where the terrace people who have those particular powers, like, and that kind of culture and community, where they are and how they fit into this Era 2 world. So there's a lot of fun in here. There's a character from Era 1 that I absolutely love that you hear more of in this book, and it makes me so happy. And I'm not going to say any more, but I have such a great time with rereading this book. It was wonderful. This was my like cure book for my Chorus of Dragons hangover. So I knew I was going to have a hangover when I finished Chorus of Dragons because it was amazing, and I knew I needed a reread that was fun to kind of help me get over the reading slump, and it worked like a charm. And I'm really looking forward to rereading Bands of Mourning, which is a third book, and I'm hoping to tackle that in the last week of October and get that one read. I'm so excited! So this was a great reread for me. So the second book that I needed to finish up from October is Ember in the Ashes by Sabaa Tahir. And I'm so excited to be reading this series. I've had this on my radar for such a long time and heard really, really good things about it. It's a YA fantasy, which, you know, fantasy is my happy place, so I'm very keen to read it. It's a desert fantasy, which I haven't really read any of before, which is a lot of fun. And there's a military aspect in here, in that we've got a soldiers training camp. So we follow two protagonists in this, and one is just like completing their final level of military training in part of kind of this empire that rules most of the land, and the other is from a culture that has been massively suppressed by this empire. So it's really intriguing to follow these two characters and see, are their paths going to cross? What's the bigger picture looking like? And I love that you're kind of thrown into it right from the beginning. Like that's what I love about YA. It's like plot starts here. I love my adult epic slow burns and get a lot of enjoyment from them, but it's also really nice to break it up with the fast-paced YA that just gives me racing plots, and the excitement and the tension. Quite a lot of hormones going around in here. There was a lot of teenage desire awakening moments, I would say, in this. Based on YA fantasy, I expect all that kind of thing. They enjoy keeping you guessing as to how different people feel about each other. One kind of, it weirds me out a little bit because it's like, are you friends or are you not friends? It's just a tad confusing for me. But apart from that, you know, it all sorts itself out. But I enjoyed the characters. I found them all fun. I don't know how you would manage to cope in this world. It's a very harsh world. Very, very harsh. Very, very harsh. I would probably have died at the age of 6 in the military training. I definitely would not have made it back from part of their training where they kind of go out in the wild to survive and then come back and let's see who's still alive. It is very harsh. There's still some moments of fun in here as well. There's like all sorts of secret passages, there's friendship, there's, you know, loyalties pulled in different way, there's politicky stuff going on. You're not sure who to trust or what the right thing is or what the right decisions are to do and what is in it for other people in what's going on. So all of that was a lot of fun and very much kind of ended on, this is book 1 and the rest of the story is continuing. So I really can't wait to pick up the Torch Against the Night. Torch Against the Night? I think it's that one. I don't know if it says it in here. Anyway, the second one in this series, it's got a torch in the title and the night in the title. I can't remember what the other words that kind of fit into it is. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to picking up the second one and continuing. I am part of a sort of buddy read on I am part of a buddy read on Discord with Anitha from the channel Anitha Garde and Stacy, who also has a channel, but I can't remember what it is. But I'll link them both in the descriptions. And some other readers on there as well. There's Miss Winchester, and it's really nice just kind of hearing all their thoughts about it too. And I'm really looking forward to kind of getting into that again in the second book, because I started talking and then I just read and forgot to comment. That happens sometimes. And I'm hoping to read the second book possibly in October. We will see how it all goes. So the third book was my actual first. This is what I want to be reading in October. And it's a different genre for me. It's a thriller. So I was very excited to pick this one up. I'd kind of been saving it for wanting like a thriller sort of in the autumn season. It's a bit of a change of pace, so I was looking to all of the thriller vibes. This also has a really interesting premise. There's a book that came out really recently this year. It's like kind of about like art thieves, but that whole concept of this art has been stolen by the British Empire and we want to return it to its true home. That kind of vibe. We have this, and that was I can't remember if it was a particular country or if it was lots of different Asian artwork, but I know that's what that book, which I cannot remember the title of, but I just thought sounded really cool, was. But this one is artifact from, what part of Africa was it? It doesn't say on the back, but it's African artifact that has like a like religious significance in here as well, and so it explores a lot of that concept of art being taken away from countries and claimed, but also kind of like it's not just art, it's not just an object, there's more to it than that. It's got like a power within its culture that you can feel. So that was really interesting to explore all of that. In terms of the plot, just so you're not going in with different expectations, I knew very little going in, so I didn't have expectations other than I'm reading a thriller, woo, with a bit of art museum stuff involved. But it's not, it doesn't go into kind of, it doesn't explore that too much. It's like you feel that this object has like a power and a presence, but it doesn't like turn into anything beyond that, that it just feels very sacred. It has like more of a kind of political, it has like a kind of a, presence is the wrong word, like there is a lot of politics around this item as to it could cause power in terms of status and money, as well as in terms of its like culture and religious relevance. So that's really fascinating, working out why different people might want it and what they're going to do with it and what that means. It also really explored people's identity and relation to Africa from being brought up and raised in more of a Western society. So all of those conversations are really interesting to read about. I obviously have absolutely zero knowledge or understanding about what any of that might feel like, and that it might feel different to different people, but I really enjoyed reading about it and hearing about it and taking it all in. I enjoyed the plot and kind of how you kind of did not know what direction it was going to go in and who was involved and who to trust, and there was a point where I was quite surprised. And so, yeah, I had a great ride reading this book. However, I am very much a character reader, and I didn't quite click with any of the characters. I felt very much like there was a distance between me and them. I don't know if that's just because you're following lots of different people, but because it was the plot and the pace and the messages was kind of more of the focal point of the story, there was a little bit on emotions, but not a huge amount. So I wasn't like in that state for a long time. So I wasn't feeling like really worried about characters or feeling upset on behalf of characters. So I was just kind of there viewing them rather than like living and breathing with them, which is what I want to do with my characters. So it didn't kind of emotionally grab me. So while I really enjoyed it, it didn't kind of fall into love, because that's what I need to love a book. It was written in 1997, so there is a lot of male gaze within this. Basically, we're very aware of breasts in this book. I mean, if you enjoy reading about boobs, they are mentioned quite a lot in here. If there's a female character present, her boobs will be described. Which jolted me out of the story in terms of, I was like, this is such a 90s book. Because it's amazing how much we have moved on as a society from like 1997 to now. Because I was alive in 1997, and you know, within secondary school at that time, it still feels like it shouldn't be that long ago, because I still, like everyone, I still kind of half imagine that it really wasn't that long ago since my 20s and teens, and it was. So it's like, it does make me stop and think like, wow, we really have come on quite a lot in a short space of time in terms of how we kind of write women and men nowadays. But there wasn't anything like there wasn't anything like really offensive. It's just like, if there was a female, her breasts need to be described. So I was like, okay, cool, we'll just move on from that. It is of its time. And there were some very interesting characters in here. I felt like I would still like to have known more about them in certain aspects. But you know, that wasn't the focal point of the story. So this was a really fun read, and if you enjoy a thriller, I definitely recommend giving it a go. You know, the writing was great, the plot was really fun. If you're wanting a like kind of tense thriller, it wasn't like that in terms of atmosphere, but very much in terms of like, you didn't know what was going to happen next or what people were going to do. That was kind of the thrill aspect. So it's slightly different. It was slightly different to, I'd say, more of your classic Western thrillers. It kind of depends what you're looking for. I don't read enough thrillers to kind of explain it that much, but I know from the ones that I have previously read, there has been that kind of like menace behind you that you like feel like you're looking over your shoulder for. I didn't find that so much in this one. It was more like, who do I trust? What's happening? Feeling to it. So yeah, it was a good time, and I'm very pleased that I have read it. I'm now going to go into some books that I picked up from the library, which were just absolute spur at the moment. Like, I'm interested, and because they were short, I just felt like I could read them, and I'm so pleased I did, because they were amazing and I need to share them. One I've not even put on the shelf because I was literally looking through it before I started filming this video. So the first one I'm going to do is a graphic novel, Oxygen Mask, by Jason Reynolds and Jason Griffin. This book is so fantastic. So I absolutely adored The Long Way Down by Jason Reynolds, one of my favourite books of the year, both the novel in verse and the graphic novel, really, really powerful. So I was really keen to pick up more of his work. This is a little notebook. We've got a plastic elasticy bit here. It's all like note paper inside. And what I love about this book is it tells you at the back, it's got this lovely little conversation between Jason Reynolds, who provided the words, and Jason Griffin, who provided the art. And it was a collaboration between both of them. And it was really wonderful to kind of read about how they came about this concept. So this is basically kind of their reflections and feelings on all the events that happened in 2020. So the feeling about being in a pandemic, everyone kind of like being in their homes, and how governments and things were managing that situation. It looks at the police events with how that was handled, and the Black Lives Matters protests that kind of came from that. And it looks at kind of the environmental crisis and all our emotions and things and feelings on that. So like those three themes, so the pandemic, Black Lives Matter, and the earth, were all kind of looked at in that. So it's kind of like in three sections. It's called like breath 1, breath 2, breath 3. And it's so powerfully done. And what I really loved is reading at the back, like both of them talking about it. And Jason Reynolds basically said, when he was discussing it with Jason Griffin, you can play with my words and put them where you want to in terms of how you want to see the art come out. I don't mind you breaking things up and moving them around. So it was very much kind of a joint venture by them. And that is the stuff I like to hear about in graphic novels, because when I was like looking at both The Long Way Down and novel in verse and graphic novel, I was really curious to know how much came from the Jason Reynolds who provided who it was his story, and the artist who brought it to life with her drawings and pictures. So that's the kind of information I really want to know about how this was crafted and where, like, you know, whose thought process this was. So it was so delightful to kind of hear that in here. This you can just pick up and read. Like, I literally read it in one sitting and it took me about 15 minutes because it is, although yes, it's heavy, it is full of artwork. So it is like, here we have this image for this one sentence. And it does say in here, basically, Jason Reynolds wrote like 3 really long sentences, and from that Jason Griffin kind of created the art, and they worked on like how to put it all together. And it's just so beautiful. It uses the idea of like us needing to, like, feeling like we're drowning and needing to breathe, which is why you've got this wonderful kind of, literally just flicked past this picture of like their mum sitting watching the TV, but like there's like waves kind of around her as though it's like that's pulling her in. Yeah, they totally can't find it now, but never mind, there's some fabulous pictures in here. Let's just, yeah, like, so you've just got a whole page with this image here, and it's kind of the words around it that make you kind of think and feel that emotion. So it's just done really powerfully, and I love how it's all kind of brought together. And I just think it's something that everyone can relate to from our experience of 2020. So I highly recommend picking it up, get it out your library. It's just so good. I just think it's done so well, and I just think it kind of makes you think about all those things, kind of churns them around in your head, but by the end of it, the way it's done is it lifts you up and gives you hope that, you know, everything might be okay, and maybe we can get through it and not stress too much about all the stuff we can't control. So I just recommend it so much. It's just fabulous. And more gushing is about to occur. Like, I feel like I could talk about this for ages. This is a book of poetry by a performance poet called SOPHIA THAKUR, and it's called Somebody Give This Heart a Pen. And I just saw it, just that, and I was like, that looks really interesting. I like that title. I picked it up and looked at, like, yeah, this book of poetry, wonderful. I don't read a lot of it. I have enjoyed it when I have read poetry before. It's really small. I feel like I kind of could flick through it maybe this month, maybe next month. I'm gonna pick it up and get it out the library. I love this so much. I'm not like a huge poetry fan, but when I do read it, I do enjoy it. Like, there's always going to be poems that work for you more than others, but I do find it as like an art form just incredible how you, like, I feel storytelling I feel comfortable with, like, doing myself. I mean, I'm not amazing at it, I'm not trained, I'm not anything like that, but I do feel like I could tell a story. Poetry, I wouldn't know where to start, because it's how they just kind of like capture a feeling, and they just put it into, they catch it and they frame it into this beautiful thing and show it to you, and you pull out bits from it that works for you. And I just think it's so incredible how that works, and it blows my mind a bit. There's some that I'm like, I have no idea what you're saying, it doesn't make sense to me. But the ones that do are beautiful, and I love the language, and I love saying it. Like, I love reading. That's what I like to do with poems. I like to read them aloud because I feel it speaks to me more when I say it. When I feel myself saying the words, it just feels good. It's like how I love saying German words because they feel good to say, like Kugelschreiber. I think all of you now should just say Kugelschreiber. It just feels delightful to say. It means fountain pen, and I just think that's so much more fun than saying fountain pen. I just love how it feels, and that's the same with poetry. Like, I love making those words and just hearing it come back. And this book takes things I love the most. I love emotion, and I love being able to say it out loud. And this is full of that. Like, she takes you on a journey in this. So it's broken down into like 4 parts. There's like a little prologue, which is called The Process, and it has 2 poems in that, and it just beautifully introduces this whole concept about writing from your heart. And it takes that kind of idea and that concept, and it's just so beautifully done. I could literally just sit here and read this whole book to you, and that would just make me so happy, but I'm not going to for 2 reasons. One, it would take all day. The second one, it really is beautiful. The second reason I'm not gonna just sit and read it aloud, I'm gonna read one because I just can't resist. But what I want you to do now is I want you to look in my description box, and I want you to click. I have put YouTube links to SOPHIA THAKUR performing her poetry. So there is one where it kind of introduces this book. So she reads the first poem from the first part. So the first part is called Grow. So she reads Somebody Give This Heart a Pen. And just hearing her do it and the image it gives, I cannot do that justice. So I want you to listen to her do it. She then reads, I think we have a little excerpt from it in this book. I don't think it's the whole thing, but it's called Little Black Girls. Or something, that might not be the exact wording, but it's something along that time. So like Little Black Girl. And it's her speaking to Black children and what she hopes for them and the dreams she hopes for them and how they should not feel like they're not important or not worth this or part of this world. And the way she does it is just beautiful. Like, it's so powerful, it's so emotive. The images she gives, and like you can feel the beat. Like, that's one of the things I really loved whilst reading it. It's like I can feel the rhythm of this poem and I love it, and that's what really makes me want to say it out loud, because it's just like boom, 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 and you can feel that rhythm and you know how it's supposed to sound, and it really just comes alive and brings me so much joy. And just watching her read this, and like, she pauses when she wants to pause, and she takes her time to say a word of, like, she takes time for a line, and then she says a lot of lines fast together, so you get all these emotions and feelings. So like, just the way she delivers it adds to what she wants to say, and it's just beautiful. So I highly recommend go and look at her videos. I could talk about this all day. She has one that's not in this book that called God Loves You, and I have just been sharing it this afternoon on everything. I've been just like, Discord, this poem's amazing, everyone should look at it. The parent WhatsApp group at my school, like, guys, don't know if it's the right place to say this, but this poem's amazing and I think you should all hear it. So I'm just sharing it because I sat on my stairs and watched her say this poem that isn't in this book, and I just sat there and cried. I was just like, this is just art. It's just incredible. Like, the message that she's giving and the way she does it just spoke to me so much. And I think even if you aren't religious, I think like the crux of it is she's telling you that you're important. She's telling you that what you do matters, and you shouldn't doubt yourself and not believe that the things you do in your life don't matter, because they do. And I think everyone can relate to that. Obviously, if you are religious, it can then speak on a higher level, because she's talking about a god, she's talking about a heavenly deity. So you also get that from it too. But I think even if you aren't, just appreciate the talent of this woman, and just everyone should feel uplifted. So it's just beautiful. I'm actually going to go back to talking about this book now, because I'm just going off on a mad gush about how much I appreciate her. So it goes into 4 sections. So you've got grow, wait, break, and grow again. So you just have this journey, and you just go on it with her, and you just see like bits of her life that she's felt compelled to talk about and that other people will relate to. And I just think so much of it, there's so much heart in it, and I think you get a sense of what it's saying. But even if like this is what it meant to her, you'll read it and you'll pull something else out of it that it means to you. And it's just beautiful, and I just love how it's all pulled together. So you go on this journey and this process, and then you finish up with like the final part of Growing Again is her talking about writing, and it just ends on like, you've gone through this journey and now share it. And I just think the whole collection and the way it's done just fits together so perfectly, and I adore it. And I am going to read you, so there were so many of these poems I really loved, but two of them I wanted to talk a bit more on. One I'm going to read because I just want to, if you know, some people think, sure, yeah, I'll go and click on a link, but they never actually get around to doing it. So I want to share with you how amazing her poetry is by reading you one of her poems and hoping that I do it justice. The other one I'm not going to read because I think you need to see it and experience it yourself. So just gonna wet my vocal cords because I've just been blathering on for quite a while now. Okay. So this one really spoke to me because it's something that I've thought of before and I've heard other people kind of mention. When you say hello to people, people don't say just hello now. People are like, how are you? And people say, I'm fine. And it's like, this is as saying hello. It's not as actually having a conversation. So the poem is called I'm Fine, Thanks, You and Other White Lies. We tuck them neatly behind how are yous, calling it protecting us both from ugly truths, protecting me from being moved. God forbid I should waver from this stone cold. God knows where my insides would leak, to which side of sanity they would seep, to which extreme they would leap. So I'm fine is my stabilizer, protecting us both from ugly truths, protecting me from being moved, protecting us both from being swallowed whole by a suppressed mood. I'm weary that one day the truth will catch a how are you, and I'm fine is beaten by my wild, by I'm dealing with loss and doing a poor job of holding it together and acting or knowing better. I'm permanently lost, taking old paths, meeting familiar pain, learning a lesson but doing it again. I was hurt for so long, I think I look for it now to fill this gap. It's almost comfortable on my skin. I sink into tears so easily, which is actually great because you can't talk at the same time as crying. And tears make so much more sense than words these days. At least they can communicate the pain. But you didn't ask that. You asked about my day. So I didn't say that. I said with a smile that it's been great. I love that poem. I think it's really sums up that whole kind of thought process about someone asks how we are and we say fine, because to actually talk about how we are would take a lot more than a little couple of minutes you have to just greet someone and move on. So I want to try and say, oh, it's nice to see you, or it's good to see you, rather than I'm not actually asking you how you are but not having time to actually listen to you. And then I want to go, actually, I've kind of got 10 minutes. How are you? I want to hear. So yeah, I really like that one. The one I am not going to read, but I loved so much, is called Shiny Black. So this is in the break part, and so many of the poems in the break part, you just feel like you need to hug someone afterwards, or you just want to hug the voice saying all these things. It's broken. People break and pull themselves back together, and hugs are great. So Shiny Black is really short. I'll show you a little snippet far away. There it is. It's that little bit. Like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 lines. And I just find it so powerful. And I think you should pick up this book. I think you should read it. And it's so powerful because it just really shows how, like, I had a phrase when I was looking at this. I had a phrase that I said that explained how this works, and now my brain has gone totally blank. But essentially, it really shows that almost like humanity at its worst. It's like how we can just hurt people for no reason, and it's terrible, and we need to do better. And it's just a small snippet, and it just does it so well in these words, and it just absolutely painted a picture of what this was like, and you could tell that something had happened before this, and it's just you're going through it, and then you get to the end and you're like, oh. And I read it when I was looking through to try and find it and point it out so I could remind myself what the title of the poem was to tell you all. And as I just read it through again, I just had to sit and just take a moment, because I find it that powerful. And I think if it's affected me as in my little white privilege life, how much more powerful it will affect people who meet prejudice all the time, who are given grief for being themselves, who are constantly having to battle with ingrained racism or casual homophobia, or all of those things. So it's really short. Even if poetry is not your thing, I just recommend it to you, because the words just come off the page and just make you feel alive. And I'm going to stop talking about it now because I have gushed for so much about this book, but I can't praise it enough. I think I'm just a bit obsessed. I think love it. So those are all the ones I've completed so far. I am in the middle of a few other ones that I'll briefly talk about. So I have started, so excitingly, Fool's Errand by Robin Hobb. It's the first book in the Tawney trilogy, which is the third book in the large series, The Realm of the Elderling. Third book. It's the seventh book in The Realm of the Elderlings. It's the third series within that. So we are back with Fitz in this one. A lot of time has passed. I think it's about 15 years since the end of Assassin's Quest. And it felt like coming home. Just picking this up. It just felt like coming home. So I am this far. I've read this much so far. I've just adored it. Just adored it. It is, again, we're back with the slow burn. We're back with all the little small details. Just seeing where Fitz is in his life. Meeting a few other people here. And that's all I'm going to say. I can feel like an outer threat starting to twitch its way here, and the existence is probably going to be broken into and ready to be traumatized soon by having my characters go through terrible things. But I'm so excited for it. I have stopped reading this to pick up other things in between, because I know that when I get to the end of this, I'm going to have a Hobb hangover again, and anything else I pick up is just not going to be appreciated to the fullest extent, because I'll be in a Hobb hangover. So I've stopped it while it's still not too traumatic, and I'm reading other stuff in between so that I will appreciate and enjoy them. And then I'm going to go back to this, and then I have The Bands of Mourning, which is another Brandon Sanderson reread, ready to pick me up once I finish the Hobb. That's the plan. It's going to work really well. So I'm also reading Moonlocket, which is a buddy read that I'm doing with Vadania from Vadania Silverscribe. This is the second book in the children's middle grade, the Cogheart series. So Vadania and I are doing the Cog-along. Again, we're getting all of these kind of Victorian, steampunk, sort of Penny Dreadful vibes. I'm really enjoying it. I think we're going to go see some, I think we're going to go to London, and I think we're going to go see some, what's it called? Kind of like old world variety show things, but all like in little booths. So all of that kind of like freaky fun. So I'm excited. It's nice to be back with these characters and see them. And I'm looking forward to kind of where we're going. This book, I think, the first one, we had a lot of focus on Lily's family. I think this book we're focusing on Robert's family. And so I think Robert is kind of taking more centre stage in this one rather than Lily. And there's a lot. They're both dealing with a lot. But I think there's some of the decisions I'm sort of questioning slightly. But, it's a fun children's adventure, and they're going to go off and do what they need to do. But I do feel that as a pair, they still need to kind of talk to each other and share their emotions a little bit more. I kind of want that. I want more of the friendship from them because they're holding things back from each other. I'm like, you're supposed to be best friends. You talk to your best friends. So that's kind of pulling me away slightly from the story. But in terms of like the atmosphere and the overall fun adventure, it's hitting all the right buttons. And the last one I want to talk about is Belladonna by Adeline Grace, which is a YA fantasy with a bit of a mystery and romance, and it's very gothic. Oh yeah, I never didn't speak about any of the read-alongs I was doing, so I'll speak about read-alongs in another video because we're nearly at the end now. So yeah, some gothic vibes, and this is a very beautiful fairy loot edition with the beautiful edges with the purple flowers down them. And I'm really enjoying this. I'm enjoying the characters in here. The atmosphere is fabulous. It's giving me everything that I'm kind of expecting from the premise of this. I'm really finished, so I can't wait to like finish it off and see where it goes. And at the end of here, there does say there is a second book coming next year, which unless suddenly the end is ruined for me and I don't vibe with it, I will definitely be getting. At the moment, I'm having such a lot of fun with it, and yeah, it's a great time. So there we go. That's my October weeks 1 and 2. Yes, so I'm loving all the cozy vibes of reading in the autumn time and being snuggly with a book. Do have a little chat with me down in the comments. Are there any of these books that you have thoughts on? Have I pressurized you enough into picking up Someone Give This Heart a Pen? Let me know. Was the gush too much? Tell me what you're reading, what you're looking forward to reading over the rest of October. You know I love a chat. And if you have enjoyed this video, then please do click that like button. It's always nice to know that your work is being appreciated. And it's great to chat to you in the comments. But if you don't want to say anything, then, you know, it's spooky season. Maybe do like a little spiderweb or a pumpkin or something, because that's fun. And if you enjoy the vibe, why not subscribe if you haven't already? It would be great to have you on board. And happy reading, everybody.